Good morning, Center for Spiritual Living, Ocala.
Good morning.
Oh, I just wanted to add my welcome. Today's kind of my day off. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I'm the senior minister here at the Center for Spiritual Living. For those of you who are first-time visitors, today is a special day. I am so excited. We're trying to figure it out. I think it's been 4 years ago, the first time I attended the Big Sky Retreat, and I met those two gentlemen right there. And I can truly tell you my life has changed in many significant ways since that day. I didn't bring up his bio, but we were out at dinner last night. We had dinner, lovely Donna and Norma's. And by the way, is that woman not an amazing prayer warrior? Welcome, beautiful light presence. I mean, you just feel it when she's up here. Anyway, we were at their home having dinner, and I realized Michael is the senior minister at Unity of Houston. I don't know how many hundreds of people you have there on a Sunday morning. Used to this great big, huge venue. He is kind of a celebrity in this movement, just telling you. True story. And it is his first time visiting here, and I'm just so very excited. And I'm excited for those of you who've never heard this gentleman sing, speak. There is a way that music touches us, you know what I mean? It just gets right to your heart and your soul, and Michael's voice does that. Michael does that. Everything about his presence is just incredible, and I'm so thrilled that he took one of his very precious Sundays off to hang out with us this morning and kick off our new year, right? Isn't that something that is very special? And I will talk about John later, but you all will get to hear all about him. But this is Michael's moment, and I'm just so thrilled, and I'm thrilled that we all get to experience it, because this constellation of people will never be again, right? So get everything you can out of this moment. Enjoy it. Feel the joy, feel the love, feel the passion, and know that we are off to a tremendous start for 2020. It's yours.
It's like the air around me. It's like sunlight on my face. I feel this love surround me. I'm touched by amazing grace. All I've ever wanted and all I've ever needed was already there. It's closer than the sunlight, it's nearer than the air. Simple prayer of thank you, and my breath becomes a song that we're singing all along, that is singing everywhere. It is nearer than the air. I am filled with the Spirit. becomes a song that we're singing all along. It's singing everywhere. It is nearer, nearer than the air. It's like the air around me. It's like sunlight on my face. I feel the love of God surround me. I'm touched by amazing grace. And all I've ever wanted and all I've ever needed, it's already there. Closer than the sunlight, it is nearer, nearer than the air. Thank you. I love what you said, Cindy, about this will never happen again. So let's get everything that's here for us. There's a friend of mine who spoke at the Big Sky Retreat 2018, Karen Russo. She speaks about working with the divine masculine and divine feminine. One of the qualities or one of the attributes of the divine feminine is the ability to experience satisfaction. This is as good as it needs to get for me today, really. I'm here with a group of loving people who are focused on bringing the light of their own being, their own individualized expression of spirit into the consciousness of humanity. How much better do we got music, we got Donna, we got Cindy. I mean, come on, we're good, right? Can I get an amen? Amen. Thank you. So I grew up Pentecostal, and sometimes it shows. But I just want to let you know that I have been a part of the New Thought community for about 28 years. I was first taught and licensed as a practitioner of Science of Mind, and then ordained in Science of Mind. I was a minister there, and now I work in Unity. But I'm in this teaching, and it's in me. And so what I want to bring today is our teaching plus. There's sometimes when you're in the family, you can say, yeah, that's who we are, but have we thought about this? And so I've got a little bit of that I want to bring today. But first, I love that we really don't need to pay attention to the forms that came before too much in New Thought. We get to make it up, and particularly right now, church, spiritual community, it's all changing. So people are asking, what are we supposed to do now? What wants to happen now? And what I'm aware of is sometimes we have a tendency to throw the baby out with the bathwater and just want to get rid of all the old forms and not realizing that there was some good stuff in some of that. We do want to definitely throw out the old bathwater. Amen? Thank you. But we want to keep what's valuable and what's useful. And so I have a friend who is a former Methodist minister, now a Unity minister in Houston, and he said he was trained in Methodist seminary where they said every sermon is 20 minutes and it's 3 points, a poem, and a joke. So here goes the joke. Another pastor of another denomination had a problem with weight and with sugar and with eating. And so it's a new year, he had made a resolution, and he decides that in order for him to get past this, he's going to have to find a new way to get to the church every day, because there is a bakery right on his path. And he just can't not stop and buy some delicious cookies, cakes, whatever they have that day. So he tells his whole integrity and group, like his Bible study on Tuesday morning, this is what I'm doing. I want you to really hold this for me. And then for weeks, he did really well. He didn't drive by the bakery. He showed up at the office every day, and he was losing weight. He felt good. And one Tuesday morning, he shows up to Tuesday morning Bible study with a big box from the bakery. And all of his friends there was like, "Oh, Pastor Paul, what happened? What happened?" He said, No, this is a good thing. This is ordained by God, because when I forgot to take the new route to work, and when I was driving, I knew I was going to drive right by the bakery. I said, "God, here's the deal. If I am to go in and have a little reward, pick up something good from the bakery, I want you to make sure that there's a parking space right in front of that bakery." And on the 8th time around the block, there was one. So I'm going to talk about God today. And I'm going to talk about the way that sometimes we make up our own messages from God. Sometimes we have this, in the Hebrew scriptures it says that in the male and female he created he them in his own likeness. It says that we are made in the likeness of God. But what we usually do is we make God in our likeness. We anthropomorphize. We put our idea of what a divine being is onto something out there. And what I want to do is call that into question today and begin to open us to a broader and deeper evolutionary understanding of what God is. And I believe that Science of Mind has already done a lot of that. So when I was preparing to give a message this morning, I asked Cindy what she normally does in January, because a lot of communities, including Unity, do back to basics, kind of the basic teaching. And she said, "Yeah, but do whatever you want." So I was looking through the... that's an invitation to me that I cannot resist. But I was looking through the Science of Mind textbook. I have done Back to Basics on Science of Mind, but the little sections before Chapter 1, the thing itself, all that. And I decided, I'm going to look at Chapter 1. I was intrigued by the title, which comes from Genesis. In the beginning, God. And then Ernest Holmes does this beautiful teaching of what Science of Mind offers into the theological soup of humanity and what we believe God is. God is principle. God before form that uses its own divine substance it must know itself into form. And that is how we end up using Science of Mind. That we are part of this one mind, that our mind and God's mind are one mind. And as we know something, we experience it. We create it, we manifest it, we demonstrate it. This is what we teach, this is who we are, this is our contribution. Not necessarily all of the theology unique to Science of Mind or New Thought, but this is really what we're known for. Ernest Holmes had a famous saying. He said, "There is a power for good greater than I am." Anybody know the rest of it? "And I can use it." So my first point, if you're paying attention to the 3 points, we have the joke, 3 points. I don't think I have a poem, but who knows? Is that there is a power greater than I am, and I can use it. And this has been the bulk of our teaching. If you've taken classes here with Cindy, and I don't know if you have the practitioners that teach classes here, but the idea is that as we can link our mind to the deeper truth of who and what we are, we can then demonstrate a life that is in alignment with that truth. And we can do it in very specific ways. You can use this power to lose weight, to gain money. Those are the big ones most people use it for. Or to manifest a really handsome partner. You can use it for so many things that you might want to use it for. You can, and it's wonderful. And that's our game. Are we good with that? Yep. If you want more on that, take Cindy's classes. I first heard this said about 15 years ago in the movement. Some people were saying, that's true, that there is a power for good greater than I am that I can use, but it can use me too. And so I want to back up. That's my second point, if you're paying attention. Before that, I want to give a little bit of an overview, and it's a teaching that comes from the integral movement with Ken Wilber called The Three Faces of God. Ken Wilber is not part of the New Thought movement, but his work in sort of mapping the truths that reveal themselves in all the traditions, a lot of people in New Thought have really been fed by his work. And so this one is one of his teachings, and it's called The Three Faces of God. And you can think of them like the 3 parts of speech. There's the I, the you, and the it. So the first face of God is the one we just talked about. I am part of this power, that I am a place of divinity, that I am a place of divine potential and creativity. I am it. I can make something. I can make stuff happen. The second face of God is the thou, which most of us left behind in the churches we grew up in. You know, there's another saying that says, in New Thought, we love and honor all spiritual paths except the one we were raised in. Can I get an amen on that? And that second face of God, the thou, if we've been told that it always is a man, it always has a certain name, and anything that's not that is not that, that doesn't serve us. We're going to come back to that one. The third face of God is the it, the all, the everything. And this is where, I'm moving into my second point now, that it can use me. That I'm not the be-all, end-all of creativity. I'm part of the everything. And am I willing to be part of something that is moving in a harmony greater than I can currently understand, foresee, or know? Am I willing to be moved in that way, to be used? I tell you, a lot of religious scientists don't like being used, because we took classes on that. And we went to 12-step groups, so we don't do that. So we're not talking about any human kind of using. We're talking about an activation of the truth of our truest being. That if we're willing, that we can offer who we truly are, the authentic self, the power self, not by the egoic power that is always wanting to get stuff, but from the authentic nature of who we are that is always wanting to give in service. So if we're moving into that, this is the third face of God. My second point, I know it gets confusing. We're talking about being in relationship with the cosmos, with the all, and bringing our willingness to be part of it. There are a couple of quotes here that I want to share with you. And here's where the third and the first face go really well together. That I know that I'm here to create and to experience something that is great for me. I know that the universe has something in mind, or there's some particular part that I'm here to play, is the way Emerson said it, is that the fact that I'm here shows me that the soul had need of an organ. Shall I not assume the post? Am I not? So the fact that I'm here means I'm part of something, so that's, should I step into it? And what I've come to understand in my own practice and in my own life is that if I'm willing to surrender my egoic need to be seen in a certain way, to get the things I think I'm supposed to have in that way, release that, and allow Spirit to move me, allow my intuitive listening to be fired, allow my servant's heart to come into it, then I will be moved in the place that, guess what? I get my stuff. I get the things that will most satisfy and fulfill me. Frederick Buechner was an American minister, and he defined the term vocation as this. Listen to this. Where your deep joy meets the world's deep need. Where your deep joy meets the world's deep need. So this is not a selfish teaching. The self is so important to this teaching because your self is the only way God can show up as you. And so we have to get clean and clear that we are bringing something essential, useful, needed, necessary, timely, that it wants to come through you now in service to the whole. And the fact that you're here says you're needed. Howard Thurman, do you all know Howard? He was a mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he had a deep understanding of how much we need each other. He was a mentor for several people in the civil rights movement. He believed, you know, that they say, Dr. King said that Sunday morning is the most segregated hour in America, which is still true in most churches. I'm happy to see not at CSL right here in Ocala, not at my church either, at Unity of Houston. We really do celebrate our diversity and our inclusive nature of our teaching. But Dr. Thurman created a community in San Francisco in the 40s that was intentionally racially diverse. And he went out and he sought leaders from different ethnic backgrounds and different even religious backgrounds, mostly within Christianity, but to create this diverse understanding of who we are as humanity. This is what he says about it. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. You with me? We're good with all that? So, the first face of God, I am a place where divinity shows up. The third face of God, everything is divine and I'm part of it. Science of mind is pretty good at these two. You probably may guess where I'm going to now. The thou. The speaking to God, being in relationship with God. I know most of you get this beaten out of you in your first Science of Mind classes, and here I'm going to introduce it again on Sunday morning. How many of you grew up singing, Jesus loves me, this I know? Most of us did, if we grew up in a Christian home. And then we were taught that, no, God is more than that, which is right. So many of us have left behind this intimate, loving relationship with the Creator God, with the divine. And this has been a journey for me. I had Petra Weldis as my teacher in Science of Mind for 17 years. I got this beaten out of me. She is a fabulous teacher of our teaching. And she would always remind me, Michael, God is not out there. You're not asking some distant God out there to give you something you don't have. You're knowing the truth that is within you. First person, first face of God. Everything is divine, waiting our recognition. Third face of God. I got all that. So I don't need that second face of God, and I let it go. And something was missing. It was a dry place. I remember years ago, I was probably just maybe about to take practitioner training, so at least 15 years ago. I may not have even been that far. For many years, I was a professional singer and piano player and worked in bars and clubs and restaurants around the Dallas area. And I got my very first spiritual mind treatment. I didn't ask for. I knew that I had a better gig. And I went from playing at Bill's Hideaway on Sunday and Monday nights to playing at the Mansion on Turtle Creek. If you lived in Dallas, you would know what that means. I went from a $50 playing with a lot of drunks gig to one of the finest hotel and restaurant establishments in the country. 5-star all the way, just beautiful, posh, fancy. It was a great demonstration. I kept coming to church after that. I tripled my income within the first 3 or 4 years using these teachings. I got sober. I needed the 12 steps and I needed some Science of Mind, and I did both of those things. So I know this works. And yet I felt a little lonely for God. And I thought, well, I'll grow out of this someday. Because that's what I was told. So one night I was working at the Mansion on Turtle Creek. I was ending a relationship, and it was a tough decision. It was not a toxic, unhealthy relationship. I just knew that if I was going to grow into who I needed to be, I couldn't do it in the context of this relationship. And I'd made the decision. I was moving forward, and I was heavy on my mind. I was thinking about it. And in the bar there at the Mansion on Turtle Creek, and I'm playing the piano, in a beautiful setting, but it was early. There was no one there. And I'm just sort of thinking, praying, conversating in my mind, and I wasn't praying to the God of my childhood, but I just had the thought was like, this is a scary thing I'm doing. I need to know that I'm going to be okay. I need to know that I'm going to be okay. My partner at the time was much more successful, and so I'd gotten used to living in a certain way, and I knew I was going to be okay, but it was like going to be different. And I wasn't, so I guess maybe I didn't know I was going to be okay. Well, at the moment I had that thought, there was a person the next room over, 25, 30 feet away. They were paying no attention to my music whatsoever. At the instant I said, I need to know I'm going to be okay. They turned, they walked to the piano, never made eye contact, put a $100 bill on the piano and left. I know, I was there. It was like, what? Now, $100 would not necessarily make a big difference, but it was the gesture. Something heard me and responded. And it didn't feel like that was my affirmation creating my demonstration. It felt like a loving parent bending over to kiss a scared child is how it felt to me. It's going, you're going to be fine. I got you. And I cried in the moment because I recognized there was this feeling. And I was talking over with Petra. I was like, what the heck was that? If there's not a God outside that's connected to me, what is that? And she said, well, Michael, it's interesting that you had this very sweet and tender and connected experience of that. Don't you think maybe that's because you are a very sweet and tender and connected being that the universe reflected, spoke back to you in the way that you understood it? And that moved me. Mary Morrissey says it, that the Holy Spirit speaks in tongues, meaning that God, the universal presence, speaks to every one of us in the language of our own soul. Each of us differently. But there was a relationship there that I was beginning to feel. A few years later, I'd graduated from ministerial school. I was working at the Center for Spiritual Living in Reno, Nevada. I'm looking at Facebook early on a Sunday morning, as we are all wont to do. I call it my church, I call it that incredible fount of spiritual wisdom called Facebook. And someone had posted a video of a praise and worship singer from a big megachurch in Dallas. And her name was Carrie Job. And just a beautiful voice and a beautiful presence. And I'm just watching it because I'd kind of gotten over my allergy to all that stuff, and I was just sort of listening. And then there was something in the purity as she was singing of her love for her God that just broke me open. And it wasn't just a tear in the eye. I began to weep because I missed that. I missed being able to have an intimate relationship with God. And that ache in me that I had sort of hoped that I would grow out of was there, stronger than ever. It was about this time that I began to understand this teaching of the three faces of God. And I began to recognize that it was that second face of God, the relationship with the divine, that was calling to me now. In a way that, if I had not been able to leave it behind for a time, I don't know. If I had not been able to study, and I don't know that I would have ever really been able to step into and own the first and the third, because I was so, indoctrinated. I was so entrained to the theology of my childhood that the only God outside, the only relationship God I knew was with God the Father and God the Son. That's what I knew. That's what I'd been taught. And so I don't know if I would have been able to come back to this relational, deep, intimate, loving connection with the divine had I not let it go for a time. And I just want to say, this may be useful to no one in this room. And I'm okay with that. It's what was in my heart to bring this morning. So if this doesn't move you or call to you in any way, you're going to be fine. But for maybe one or two of you, you're also in a place where you would like to recapture some of the tenderness, some of the intimacy, some of the deeply loving nature with reality. And what I'm here to offer is that there is a path for that, even in science of mind, even in a new thought, that we can have it all. We really can have our cake and eat it too, back to carbohydrates. We really can. We can. That we can stand as the very presence of divinity. Yes, you are divine. We can stand as part of the infinite divine. Yes. And we can also love God. And here's the kicker. Allow God to love us. And what I'm finding, my brothers and sisters, is that this doesn't diminish my new thought teaching, my power to treat and demonstrate. It's enhancing it. It's like, we're not going to outgrow our need to love and be loved. Think about this. The child-parent relationship, that you don't need that forever, right? But when you're 2, you need it. When you're 3, you need it. It changes. When you're 7, you still need a parent, but the needs change. Eventually, we grow up. and we no longer need that doting, guiding parent, mother, father. But our need to be in relationship never goes away. Our need to be loved and cherished does not go away. We can wall it off, and we can cover it over with our tools and our techniques and our defenses. But beneath that, we need to be loved. We were listening to Annie Lennox, another beautiful fount of spiritual wisdom, on our drive up here yesterday, and she, on the album she did of covers, the Medusa album, she does a Paul Simon song, and it's one of my favorite lyrics. Some people never say the words, "I love you." It's not their style to be so bold. Some people never say the words, "I love you," but like a child, they're longing to be told. We all need to know that we're loved. And when we know that we're loved, we're better. We're better. If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to ask if you would stand again. There's a little prayer I would like to teach you. This is called the Three Faces of God invocation, and I'm actually going to go over here. So I can everybody see me okay? Move around a little bit. So the words for the Three Faces of the invocation of God are this. It's infinite God in whom I live and move and have my being. Say that with me. Infinite God in whom I live and move and have my being. Now, if we raise our arms like this is a gesture that we would use. It becomes a body prayer. Infinite God, say it again. Infinite God in whom I live and move and have my being. That is the third face of God, the infinite. Now we're going to move to the intimate, the second face of God. And the gesture is like this. It's holding your arms as though you're maybe another being is holding hands with you across the way. And the words here are, intimate God, you will, let's see how it is. Intimate God, you are always with me. Ready? Intimate God, you are always with me. And then we put our hands over our heart. This is the first face of God. The words here are, innermost God, I am the light of the world. Innermost God, I am the light of the world. Now that, St. Augustine is actually the one that said that a prayer sung is twice prayed. A prayer sung with a body prayer is thrice prayed. So you're about to do this because I set music to this beautiful prayer. And I just wish I could play and do the gestures. John, do you know this well enough to kind of demonstrate the body prayer? I'll correct you if you're wrong. So, all right. So we begin like this. Infinite God. Infinite God in whom I live and move and have my being. Now we do intimate. Intimate God, you are always with me. Innermost God, I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. We just repeat that last line, and I add one more gesture there. We do from our heart, we do a circle to represent the world. I am the light of the world. I think you got it, by Jove. Thank you, John. Here we go. Infinite God in whom I live and move and have my being. Intimate God, you are always with me. Innermost God, I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. Beautiful. Let's sing it now in the we. We'll make it collective. Infinite God, in whom we live and move and have our being. Intimate God, you are always with us. Innermost God, we are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. Let's just sing that last line again. We are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. Give yourselves a hand. A couple of closing thoughts here. If you are challenged by the idea of an impartial face of God that is not anthropomorphized, like if you're still, it's really hard for you to not think of God as being a big daddy in the sky or mommy in the sky, if that's all you can do, if you will expand to this universal presence of the cosmos as being part of the dawn, that third face of God, it will heal you and it will grow you. If you're uncomfortable with having a loving creator that you can be in relationship with, if it's hard for you to separate that from the family of origin issues or the religion of origin issues, if you will work with this idea of having a relationship with God, being cherished, loved, nurtured by the universe, this relationship will heal you. I really struggled in my early teaching in the science of mind because so much of it was impersonal. It's like God is impersonal. As a matter of fact, a minister friend of mine went to school on the West Coast in a seminary there, and he said that the person who taught their theology class came in and she wrote on the board, God is not a he, God is not a she, God is an it. And I get that. That if you're teaching the third face of God, this is important that you get that. But what I understand, too, is that we don't have all the answers. And there's something, too. This is the last thing I love you, Ernest Holmes, and. In the first page of this chapter 1 of the Science of Mind, he says that the world has grown weary of mystery. We want to know reality. We want to know how it works. We're never going to know exactly how it works. We're not going to get all the answers. The infinite, you get it? It's infinite. We're never going to figure it all out. And the mystery is a place of expansion and birthing a new reality. And it is from that mysterious, we don't have to know how it works, but we are stepping into the unknown in a way that is powerful and beautiful. I don't know what God has in mind for you. I did not know that I was going to be in Ocala, Florida this morning, a couple of years ago, even a few months ago, but it was exactly right that it brought me here with you today. And what I'm learning is if I can continue to listen, to trust, to take risk, to step out, I am always in the place where I am most useful and I am most fulfilled. I love you. God bless you. Thank you.